Walk into an electronics store in 2026 and it doesn't feel like shopping anymore. It feels like stepping into a casino built out of glowing rectangles. Every wall is stacked with screens blasting colors no human eye has seen in nature. Every salesperson speaks like they're auditioning for a sci-fi movie, promising processors so advanced you'd think they were smuggled out of a secret lab. Every box claims to be the future. Every label screams 4K, 8K, quantum, ultimate. And everyone walking out the door swears they just scored the bargain of their life. But here's what nobody in that store will ever admit. Most of the TVs sitting under those bright lights are ticking time bombs. Some won't make it past 2 years. Some are built with panels that burn out faster than your phone battery. Some are so cheaply engineered the warranty lasts longer than the TV itself. And in 2026, the gap between good and absolute garbage has never been wider. So today, we are tearing the curtain down. No sponsors. No brand loyalty. Just the truth about which TVs actually deserve a place in your home, and which ones will make you regret ever setting foot in Costco, Walmart, or Best Buy. Before we dig in, drop the word truth in the comments so YouTube knows people are tired of being misled. Now, let's get into the list. We are starting at the very bottom. Not the middle, not the budget section, but the part of the aisle where TVs sit because no one with experience will touch them. Some of these brands are not just affordable. They are the kind of products that make you wonder how they passed inspection at all. Number 12 is the Walmart Heartbreaker. This TV traps thousands of shoppers every single year, and it starts the same way every time. You pop into the store for groceries, wander past the electronics section, and there it is. A shiny 55-inch screen sitting under bright lights with a price so low it feels like the universe finally threw you a favor. You lift it into the trolley, pick up a rotisserie chicken, and drive home thinking you just pulled off the deal of the century. For a brief moment, you feel proud. The picture seems fine. The menus look simple. You're convinced you outsmarted the whole system. But the honeymoon ends fast. The first problem always arrives quietly. The screen flickers for a second. You shrug it off. A few days later, the backlight dips and suddenly everything on screen looks dim and lifeless. The Wi-Fi starts disconnecting for no reason. Apps freeze. The remote stops responding unless you press the buttons like you're trying to send a distress signal. And then it happens. One normal morning, the TV simply refuses to turn on. No warning. No sound. Just a dead screen staring back at you. This is where the truth hits. These TVs are built with some of the cheapest LED backlights in the industry. They are designed to hit a price point, not a lifespan. The failure rate within the first year is shockingly high, and once that panel dies, the TV is finished. Repairing it costs more than replacing it. Replacing it means repeating the exact same story. This is why they are stacked in mountains at big box stores. They sell quickly because the price is tempting, and they fail quietly after the return window closes. By the time you realize something is wrong, the only thing customer service will offer is a polite apology and a suggestion to buy another one. If you've ever brought home a great deal that turned into a total nightmare, type never again in the comments so more people don't fall for it this year. Number 11 belongs to a brand that disappears on you the moment you actually need it. Element. On the shelf it looks harmless. Clean box, friendly logo, nothing that screams trouble. It gives off the same energy as those cereals that look fun on the outside but taste like sweetened cardboard once you open them. Element is the TV equivalent of that disappointment. The problem starts with the panels. They are wildly inconsistent. You can buy 2 units from the same stack and get 2 completely different experiences. One might look passable, the other looks like someone smeared petroleum jelly across the screen. Dark scenes become a blurry swamp. Colors drift so badly you start wondering if your eyesight is the issue. And the motion handling, especially during sports, feels like watching a match through the glass of an old aquarium. What makes things worse is how these TVs are made. Many Element models are generic sets from rotating factories. One factory handles a batch, then the next batch comes from somewhere else entirely. Different sources, different parts, different build quality. The name on the box stays the same, but everything inside changes depending on which assembly line happened to produce it that month. This leads to the next nightmare. Parts availability. When something breaks, and it will, there is no reliable way to get replacement components. Some technicians call it the disappearing act because the moment a panel fails, your TV is basically a lost cause. There is no support system, no easy repair path, no backup inventory. You are left staring at a dead screen with no realistic way to bring it back. One repair technician summed it up perfectly during an interview. He said an Element TV is like buying a scratch-off ticket. You might get lucky, but all the odds are stacked against you. And in 2026, the odds have not improved. Most units either fail early, drift in color, suffer from backlight banding, or slow down until even opening Netflix feels like trying to start a lawnmower in the rain. By the time customers realize they made a mistake, the return period is gone. The support line leads nowhere. And the money they thought they saved ends up being wasted on a product that was never built for long-term use. If you've ever bought a TV that looked good for 2 weeks and then fell apart like it was held together with hopes and prayers, type FED-UP in the comments so more people avoid the same brand. Number 10 is a name most people recognize, but not for the reasons they think. Westinghouse. Once upon a time, this brand meant something. You could bring home a Westinghouse product and feel confident it was built with real engineering behind it. That era is long gone. Today, the name is licensed out to different factories with different parts, different standards, and absolutely no consistency. What you get is a gamble, and not a fun one. Buying a Westinghouse TV in 2026 is like ordering a mystery box. You have no idea whether you're getting last year's leftover panel, a batch of components that failed someone else's inspection, or a Frankenstein mix of bits sourced from 3 unrelated suppliers. The branding stays the same, but the guts change constantly, which means your chances of getting a stable, clean picture are slim from the start. The most common complaint is panel uniformity. Grays look patchy. Whites look dirty. Blacks have a strange blue tint that makes every dark scene look like someone applied a cheap Instagram filter. And then there are the speakers. I've heard radios in petrol stations that sound richer and clearer than the speakers inside some Westinghouse models. Dialogue becomes muffled, music sounds flat, and any action scene feels like it was mixed inside a tin can. HDR support is where things get painful. These TVs technically support HDR, but the moment you try watching an HDR movie, the picture turns into a washed-out mess. Dark scenes become nearly unwatchable. Bright scenes blow out to the point where details disappear completely. Instead of seeing beautiful contrast, you get a film strip that looks like someone dimmed half the screen and overexposed the other half. And the software performance is its own tragedy. The operating system feels old, slow, and underpowered. Menus lag behind your remote clicks. Apps freeze. Sometimes it takes so long to open Netflix that it feels like you're trying to boot up a Windows XP machine in the year 2026. There's nothing modern or smooth about it. Everything feels one step away from crashing. People often buy Westinghouse because the name triggers nostalgia. They remember the brand from decades ago and assume it still stands for quality. What they don't realize is that the product they bought today has nothing to do with the Westinghouse they grew up with. It's the same name, but not the same company. If you've ever bought something because you trusted the name and it turned out to be a complete letdown, type duped in the comments. It helps more shoppers avoid falling for the same trap. Number 9 is where things get messy, because this brand isn't bad everywhere. It's only bad in one specific place. Philips. But not the Philips you're thinking of. In Europe, Philips still makes some of the most respected televisions on the market. Gorgeous OLED panels, amberlight designs, clean engineering. The type of TV that makes you say, yes, this is premium. But step into the United States, and everything changes. The Philips name here is licensed to Funai, a company known for pushing out some of the cheapest mass-market televisions available. Same badge on the front, completely different machine on the inside. This is the biggest identity crisis in the TV world, and millions of shoppers are walking straight into it without realizing. American buyers see the Philips logo and think they're getting that elegant European craftsmanship. Instead, they take home a TV built with low-grade panels, weak brightness, and some of the worst HDR performance in the industry. Dark scenes lose detail until everything turns into a black smear. Bright moments blow out so badly that you can't tell what you're looking at. And color accuracy sits all over the place depending on which batch you happen to pick up. The quality control is inconsistent too. One unit might be tolerable, the next looks like it survived a rough shift on the factory floor. There's no reliable standard because the production isn't managed by the original Philips engineers. It is entirely outsourced, and the results reflect that. The biggest issue, though, is trust. People buy Philips in America because they believe they're getting a recognized global brand. They think they're buying a premium TV at a bargain price. What they actually get is a budget panel wearing the outfit of a luxury product. It is misleading. And for many customers, it feels like sabotage. You buy what you think is a BMW, and when you get home, you realize the engine came out of a lawnmower. Once the disappointment sets in, the problems keep rolling. The customer support is thin. The parts availability is poor. And the software performance struggles under the weight of modern apps. Everything feels just a bit behind, as if the TV is doing its best to keep up but simply wasn't designed for today's demands. The Philips you see in American stores is not the Philips you think you're buying. It's a badge attached to a budget device, and the people who end up with it usually learn this the hard way. If you've ever bought a product because the brand name fooled you into thinking it was premium, type "fooled" in the comments so more shoppers don't walk into the same trap this year. Now we reach the middle of the list, the minefield where most shoppers get hurt without even realizing it. These aren't the bargain bin disasters. These are the brands sitting at eye level in big stores, looking polished, running bright demo loops, and wearing price tags that feel reasonable. This is the danger zone because these TVs don't betray you on day one. They wait. They take their time. And when they finally start breaking down, it's always right after the warranty expires. Number 8 is Insignia, often called the Best Buy trap. It's the brand you buy when you feel smart about saving money. You walk in, scan the wall, and see the usual players. Samsung looks great but costs more than you planned. Sony is stunning but feels like a luxury purchase you're not ready to make. And then there it is. A 55-inch Insignia for a fraction of the price. Clean box. Bright screen. Friendly marketing. It seems like the perfect middle ground. But here's the truth. Insignia isn't really a TV brand. It's a retail strategy. Best Buy buys extremely cheap panels in bulk, slaps the Insignia name on them, and sells them as if they're dependable. The problem is that these ultra-budget panels age terribly. They look fine for a few months, then the slow decline begins. Brightness drops. Colors fade. Apps start freezing. The remote becomes sluggish. And by year 2, many units show the dreaded vertical lines that basically signal the end of the TV's life. People who repair televisions say the same thing again and again. Insignia is the brand you buy once to learn a lesson, then again to fix that lesson by buying something better. Once you've been burned, you never go back. Number 7 is RCA, and this one hurts because the name used to mean something. RCA was once a powerhouse, a brand you could trust. But in 2026, that trust is gone. The logo still looks familiar, but the product behind it is a completely different story. RCA TVs today are assembled using the cheapest offshore parts available, and the biggest problem is panel failure. The screens die early, and when they do, there are no replacement parts. None. You're stuck buying another TV. And the performance is just as frustrating. The software moves at a crawl. Opening YouTube feels like waiting for dial-up internet in the late 90s. Motion handling is poor. Colors wash out as soon as you shift your head a little. HDR doesn't look like HDR at all. It looks like a dull version of standard content. And because the brand is a ghost of its old self, customer support is practically non-existent. By the time most shoppers realize the truth about RCA, they're already past the return window and left with a TV that feels years behind its competition. If you've ever bought something that looked fine in store but aged like a glass of milk left in the sun, type "done with IT" in the comments so more viewers avoid the same headache. Number 6 is Toshiba, and this one is frustrating because it sits right on the edge of being good. Toshiba used to dominate living rooms. There was a time when buying a Toshiba meant you were bringing home something reliable, something solid, something built with intention. But the Toshiba you find on shelves today is not the Toshiba you remember. Modern Toshiba TVs are produced through licensing agreements and third-party factories. That means the badge on the front stays the same, but everything inside can change from batch to batch. One production line might use a halfway decent panel, the next line might use whatever parts were cheapest that month. You never truly know what you're getting. It's a gamble dressed up as a familiar name. This is why two customers can buy the exact same model and have completely different experiences. One unit might look surprisingly good, with decent brightness and acceptable color accuracy. The other might arrive with weak backlighting, uneven tones, or motion blur so noticeable it makes sports unwatchable. It all depends on where that particular TV rolled off the assembly line. Even the good units come with compromises. The frames feel flimsy. The plastic flexes in your hands. The processors inside these TVs are slow, so the operating system often stutters. Apps crash at random. Menu navigation feels delayed, almost like the TV is thinking too hard before responding. Anything involving streaming can turn into a patience test. And then there's the durability issue. Many Toshiba sets start strong but age poorly. Backlight failures are common. Brightness drops over time. Color drift creeps in until everything on screen starts developing a strange tint. By the time these problems show up, the return period is long gone, and repairs are rarely worth the cost. Most technicians won't even attempt it, because the replacement parts are inconsistent or unavailable. The real heartbreak with Toshiba is simple. This brand still carries a reputation that no longer matches what's inside the box. People buy it thinking they're getting that old Toshiba quality, the one that lasted years without drama. Instead, they bring home a TV that might behave for a while, then collapse under the weight of inconsistent engineering. Toshiba today is the TV version of dating someone with great potential who keeps letting you down. You want it to work. You hope it will work. But hope doesn't fix panel failures or software that freezes every time you try to open an app. If you've ever owned something that teased you with potential but crumbled when you needed it, type had enough in the comments so more shoppers see the warning before they spend their money. Number 5 is Vizio, and this one genuinely stings because Vizio used to be the people's champion. For years, they were the brand you recommended when someone wanted solid picture quality without breaking the bank. They disrupted the market. They fought the big names. They delivered real value. But the Vizio sitting on store shelves in 2026 is not the Vizio that earned all that loyalty. The decline didn't happen overnight. It came slowly, through a mix of supply chain shifts, cost-cutting decisions, and a wave of competition that moved faster than Vizio could handle. The build quality slipped. The software became unstable. The once clean interface turned into something that frustrated more than it helped. Updates rolled out that made the TVs worse instead of better, and customers felt it. SmartCast, once a promising platform, now behaves like a long-running glitch. Apps crash out of nowhere. Menu animations stutter. Some TVs freeze so often that owners end up unplugging the whole set just to get through a single episode. For a modern smart TV, that kind of instability is unforgivable. And the panel quality, once reliable, has turned into a coin toss. Dimming zones flicker during dark scenes. HDR brightness is weak compared to competitors. Motion compensation struggles on anything fast-paced. Backlights wear out prematurely. It's like the TV's age in dog years. You bring one home fresh and crisp, and a year later it looks like it has been through a decade of heavy use. Meanwhile, brands like TCL and Hisense surged past Vizio with brighter panels, stronger contrast, cleaner motion, and a price that makes shoppers do a double take. Vizio didn't keep up. They fell behind, and the gap widened fast. There are still a few decent Vizio models floating around, and that's the painful part. It means some people have great experiences while others get saddled with a unit filled with quirks and failures. That inconsistency destroys trust. You don't know if you're buying the hero or the headache. One viewer said something that summarized the entire Vizio situation perfectly. They said their TV updated itself and somehow got worse. That isn't a glitch. That's a brand losing its grip while competitors pull ahead with better engineering and fewer compromises. The reality is simple. Vizio is now a brand carried by nostalgia, not performance. It's not the worst. It's not the cheapest. It's just no longer the contender it once was. If you've ever watched a product you used to love collapse into mediocrity, type fallen OFF in the comments so people know which brands aren't what they used to be. Number 4 is Samsung, and this one shocks people because Samsung has built a massive reputation. They dominate store displays. Their demo loops look incredible. Their branding is everywhere. And let's be clear, Samsung is not a bad company. Far from it. Their top-tier models are stunning. Their flagship screens can compete with anything on the market. The problem isn't the best Samsung TVs. It's the ones most people actually buy. Samsung's mid-range lineup in 2026 is the definition of inconsistency. On paper, everything looks fantastic. Bright screens. Clean design. Strong color. But the reality is that Samsung quietly cuts corners in the models normal families bring home. Instead of the high-end mini-LED backlights seen in their flagship units, many mid-range versions rely on edge-lit panels that collapse under the pressure of real HDR scenes. You get bright highlights in some areas and weak, washed-out shadows everywhere else. The colors, while eye-catching in store lighting, are pushed too far. They look vibrant at first glance, but unnatural once you get the TV into your living room. Samsung tunes their mid-tier sets to look impressive on a showroom wall, which isn't the same as looking good in your home during everyday use. The quirks don't stop there. Samsung's motion smoothing features can be aggressive, and on some models you cannot fully disable them. This leads to a strange soap opera effect during films, especially at night. Firmware updates sometimes introduce new bugs instead of fixing old ones. Owners report random restarts, laggy menus, and apps that refuse to open after an update. Then there's the Dolby Vision problem. Samsung continues to ignore it. Every major TV brand except Samsung supports Dolby Vision, and in 2026 that decision matters more than ever. Dolby Vision delivers better HDR performance for many streaming services and films. Without it, Samsung mid-range models fall behind LG, TCL, Sony, and even Hisense when it comes to HDR accuracy. And here's the toughest part. If something major goes wrong, Samsung repairs are among the most expensive in the industry. A panel replacement can cost so much that people end up buying a new TV instead of fixing the one they already own. It doesn't help that Samsung's lineup is so large and varied that telling the good models from the compromised ones requires hours of research. Samsung is still capable of brilliance, but brilliance isn't what most shoppers are taking home. They think they're buying flagship quality at a mid-range price. What they are actually getting is a mixed bag of great color, questionable consistency, and features missing that other brands include for less. If you've ever bought something from a big-name brand only to realize later that you paid for the name, not the performance, type lesson learned in the comments so more viewers avoid the same mistake. Now we move into the territory where things finally get good. The top 3 brands aren't here by accident. They earned it with real engineering, real consistency, and real picture quality. These are the TVs that don't just survive the first few years, they can keep performing long after cheaper sets have dimmed, glitched, or given up completely. Number 3 is LG, the company that changed the entire TV industry the moment they made OLED mainstream. Before LG pushed OLED into homes, everyone was stuck squeezing life out of old LED tech. Contrast was limited. Blacks were more like dark gray. And blooming ruined any sense of depth in dark scenes. Then OLED arrived, and everything changed. With pixel-level lighting, true blacks, and contrast that makes films look cinematic again, LG rewrote the rules. Their C-Series and G-Series sets remain some of the most impressive televisions you can buy without entering silly price territory. The picture feels clean. The colors look natural. The blacks disappear into the room. WebOS is simple enough that even older viewers can navigate without frustration. And the newer OLED panels come with better heat management and stronger protection against burn-in, so they are more reliable than the early models from a decade ago. LG isn't perfect. Their mid-range LED sets aren't exciting, and their cheaper models fade into the background. But when you stick to the OLED line, you're buying proven quality. LG offers a blend of price and performance that keeps them comfortably in the top 3. Number 2 is TCL, the value monster no one expected. 10 years ago, TCL was the brand you walked past. Today, they're one of the fastest rising names in America. They did it by attacking the market with brightness, contrast, big screens, and aggressive pricing. A TCL 6 series can outperform Samsung mid-range models that cost hundreds more. Their 90-plus inch giants sell for less than other brands' 75-inch sets. They make the kind of deals that feel unreal until you actually try the TV. TCL isn't flawless. Some panels vary in uniformity, and the budget lines can feel sluggish. But when you compare performance to price, nobody competes. If you want near-premium quality without premium cost, TCL is the one to buy. And then there's number 1. Sony. The undefeated picture quality champion of 2026. Sony uses the same OLED panels as other brands, yet the picture always looks better. Their motion handling is the smoothest. Their color accuracy is unmatched. Their HDR tone mapping takes even average films and makes them feel cinematic. Sony's XR processor remains the secret weapon no one else can replicate. A Sony Bravia isn't cheap, but the moment you turn it on, you understand exactly why it costs more. It looks like a window into the scene instead of a screen pretending to be one. Even technicians say Sony is the one brand they trust straight out of the box. If you've ever saved up for something and finally felt the quality the moment it powered on, type worth IT in the comments so more people know where the real value is in 2026. Here's the part nobody in the TV aisle wants you to understand. Buying a television in 2026 isn't about chasing the shiniest spec or the loudest marketing word printed on the box. It isn't about AI this or quantum that. It isn't even about resolution anymore. What matters is avoiding the traps that are deliberately designed to fail on you the moment the return window closes. So let's lay it out plainly. There are TVs you should never buy in 2026. These are the brands sitting at the bottom of this list. They are cheap for a reason. Weak backlights, flimsy frames, outdated processors, sluggish software, inconsistent panels, and almost no long-term support. They look like a bargain sitting under bright store lights, but the moment you bring them home, the clock starts ticking. These are the sets that die early and leave you wishing you paid a little more upfront instead of paying twice later. Then we have the danger zone brands. Insignia, RCA, Toshiba. Not horrible, but not dependable. These are the TVs that behave for a while, sometimes even impress you for the first year or two, then slowly unravel. You start noticing dimmer brightness, colors drifting, lines appearing, apps freezing, random reboots. By the time these problems show up, you're months past the return policy and left with a TV that feels tired long before its time. Next are the brands you can buy, but you have to understand the trade-offs. Vizio and Samsung sit here. They have strengths. They have weaknesses. They can be fantastic in certain models but deeply disappointing in others. The problem is most shoppers don't know how to spot the difference. That's how people end up spending more than they need to for performance that doesn't match the price. And finally, the brands worth every pound, dollar, or naira. These are the ones that consistently deliver. LG with its OLED mastery. TCL with its shocking performance for the money. Sony with picture quality so natural it feels like a window into real life. If you stay within this tier, you're not gambling. You're buying years of reliability, consistency, and clarity. But here's one last thing that matters more than people realize. Where you buy the TV. Costco gives you a 2-year warranty and the most generous return window in the market. They protect you from the early failures manufacturers don't want to admit. Best Buy is fine for high-end Sony or LG, but a trap for budget picks. Walmart is risky unless you're choosing a real brand. And Amazon is brilliant for price drops, but terrible when something arrives damaged or dies a month later. These are the details stores never explain, because confusion is profitable. A television isn't just another purchase. It's the screen your family will gather around. It's where you'll watch films, sports, news, memories, everything. And in 2026, it's easier than ever to waste money on something that won't last. If this breakdown helped you dodge a bad buy or save your money, type smart choice in the comments. It helps more people see this before they end up stuck with a TV that belonged in the bin before it ever reached their living room.